It's the GITA Interviews, the premier global IT solution podcast, where we talk to the CEOs and business leaders who are growing their companies through global partnerships. I'm your host, Emery Geosits, the Executive Director of the Global IT Alliance. I'm happy to have Carlos Escutia joining us today from GroWrk. Carlos is the CEO of the organization that has been around since 2020. He's joining us from San Diego, California. Hi, Carlos.
Hey, Emery.
Thanks for joining us today. How is the weather, although I think I know the answer, in San Diego?
It's great. It's great today. It's a little cloudy, but
oh, no.
But good.
Well, the good news is that rarely happens, right?
Absolutely.
So, Carlos, let's kick off today. Again, thanks for joining us. Let's kick off telling us a little bit about yourself. Tell us how you came to GroWrk and what you've been doing in the industry and your career so far. Tell us a little bit about Carlos.
Absolutely. Happy to do so. First of all, thank you. Happy to be here again. And a little bit about my background. So this is a company that I started based on the pain points that we experienced building a previous company, technology company up in San Francisco, where we started hiring a bunch of engineers in India and Latin America. We experienced how difficult it was to deliver equipment, essential equipment, tools that our workers would need, laptops, monitors, etc. We looked for a solution, we couldn't find it, so we decided to build it ourselves, right? And so we launched in early 2020, and that coincided with the pandemic, which accelerated this transition to remote or distributed work, right? We had been already seen for a few years. And so what we are experiencing today is kind of an inflection point that will have dramatic consequences in the way people do or perceive work or the work environment, right? Mm-hmm. And so we've been going through that transition, and in order to enable remote work or distributed work at scale, it's important to build infrastructure to support it. So that is what GroWrk is doing. We help companies manage all of their equipment needs worldwide for any team member that they hire in any country. Everything managed through a SaaS software platform. So we go beyond simple inventory management solutions, which currently exist. We actually build that software, and on top of it, we connect it to the infrastructure locally in every country where we are providing our solution, so that customers can come to GroWrk, and through this portal or this SaaS software, they can manage all their equipment needs worldwide.
Wow, that is such, again, to your point, like terrible timing and yet perfect timing with the pandemic and all that. So now, as you see certain companies and the world coming a little bit out of the pandemic, have you seen your business continue to grow? Or now that people are potentially going to the office sometimes and all that, has there been a difference at all?
No, not at all. In fact, we're very busy as it is. The way we see things on our end is it's a little bit different, since we're at the front lines of this company's transitioning to distributed work, right? There's going to be a hybrid model that is already being implemented. And the U.S. at least plans to return to the office. In some cases have been postponed for several months, given the resurgence of COVID. Due to Delta variant. And so what we are seeing is that organizations that have spent more than a year working remotely, they're already kind of giving up already. They're saying, hey, our employees want to continue working remotely. Even when we propose them to go back to the office, they're telling us, no, we want to continue having that flexibility.
Right.
And, we don't want to risk it. We don't want to risk our employees or our top talent leaving our company because we're not able to provide that, right? And so the way we see it is that decision power has transitioned in some cases from the company to the employee, because the employee today has more options than ever to find a job that provides them with a remote work flexibility. And so that is kind of the tension that exists today. But what we are seeing is that the great majority of corporations are planning on implementing some sort of hybrid or remote work structure within their organizations, either fully or hybrid. And Some statistics they talk about anywhere between 25 to 30% of knowledge workers will be working distributed by 2025, right?
Wow. Yeah.
So that's a big number out of the most recent number that we have in terms of desk jobs in the world is 255 million desk jobs or knowledge workers that can work from anywhere. This came from WeWork's S1 a couple of years ago.
Wow. Yeah.
So you can do the math, and so we're looking at a sizable opportunity here. But again, the problems and the challenges are not small. In order to enable this flexibility, we need to build infrastructure to enable the management of it, and that's exactly what we're building.
That's great, Carlos. Do you see GroWrk going beyond the technology aspect of things? So is this going to be a pure technology play, as in getting those employees a particular desktop, laptop, things like that? Or will it expand to other categories that home users typically need?
Yeah, it will expand to other categories. Right now, we're focused on solving the highest pain point of organizations that we serve. But on top of that, there are also needs around services that those employees or those companies want to provide to their distributed workers, right? And obviously, it starts with the essential equipment that they need to do their job. Mm-hmm. But on top of that, some of the perks that they historically have offered in an office environment, they might be able to procure them and deliver them through us, manage everything through the platform, right? Right now, it's a matter of really understanding where are the biggest pain points and focusing on those and solving those. As we go along and as we grow, we will continue gaining feedback from the customers, and we will build the solutions and the offerings that they need to better serve them.
That makes sense. That makes perfect sense. So is there a perfect customer for this? Is there a perfect size customer? Is it large corporations, startups? Give me an idea of who your perfect customer might be.
Right. This has changed, and it has changed very rapidly. What we are seeing right now is that initially we were focused on technology companies, early stage, under 100 employees, basically, that were rapidly scaling, rapidly growing. And why them? Because they already had this mentality of, hey, remote work works, right? We don't have to debate this. It's already works. We're very comfortable about doing it. So it's very easy for the organization to scale globally that way, right? But they need a solution, and they need it fast. And by working with GroWrk from the very beginning, we can start developing those relationships that are going to be long-term to help them scale, right? But what we are seeing in the last few months is that larger organizations have not figured this out themselves yet. Even though they have offices worldwide, the way they do this today is by adding more IT members to their teams, right? Mm-hmm. So it's a very manual process. This is sourcing, procuring equipment that is done internally, right? Traditionally, HR, closes the hire. They send a notification to the IT team, hey, right, we're going to be onboarding XY employees in XY country. You figure it out how to get them laptops or whatever other equipment.
Right.
Right. And then they need to scramble. They're like, either we buy it in the country, we ship it out, or we need to find a local vendor to do this, right? And so that doesn't scale. That doesn't scale because the complexity becomes bigger every time that you add more employees. It's not the same thing to add 10 to 20 team members to 1,000, 2,000 team members worldwide, right? And so that's exactly the gap that we're meeting right here. We're filling. We're creating a software solution that enables these companies to automate all these processes and be able to work at scale. And so when we talk about our ideal customer, initially we thought it was going to be smaller companies, but then we're starting to get companies in the door that have thousands of employees worldwide, and they need a solution yesterday. Right. And they look at what we're building here and like, hey, let's pilot this now, right? And so traditional sales cycles for bigger organizations are long, right? In our case, we're closing them in 2 weeks.
Right. You're taking a very laborious and expensive process out of their hands, which is great, which I'm sure is something that they certainly appreciate. And, in all honesty, I define the perfect customer as one that has a need and is willing to pay. So you're in a good situation with both of those. Tell me a little bit, Carlos. I know that you and I have a relationship due to the Global IT Alliance. Can you talk a little bit about how you at GroWrk utilize the Global IT Alliance?
Absolutely. I believe that the Global IT Alliance has been instrumental in helping us navigate the multiple geographies where we need to provide our solution. It's not the same thing to do business in North America or Europe, where infrastructure is already in place, and it's pretty easy to ship out things and to be able to keep track of those devices, than working or providing a solution in developing countries where that does not exist. And I think one of the biggest advantages of collaborating with the organization is effectively helping us navigate who the right partners are in each of these countries where we need to set up our solution. And so that is the main advantage or benefit that we've received from collaborating.
That's great. That's great. And I know that when you look at the size and scope of customers having all over the globe, is there one particular country or place that is so remote for you that you were impressed that the Global IT Alliance was able to execute on? I often say, what's the furthest point from where you are that we've been able to assist?
Yeah, that's going to change pretty fast. But I think that so far, Ukraine was one of them, right? We were looking for a solution for some devices there, and that we were able to find one through that, right? We have a bunch of others in the pipeline, primarily Latin America. Latin America, it's not the same thing to work in large countries like Brazil, Mexico, Argentina, than to Uruguay, Peru, El Salvador. This small countries where we didn't know, but apparently they're U.S.-based organizations that do a lot of hiring in those small countries, primarily for support roles, right? And so that's the sort of thing that I think has been very valuable to be able to have a partner to help us navigate. Yeah,
good. If you had to look, when you look at the Alliance, is there one particular function that the Alliance is serving you that is the most important? When you look at the execution of delivery, when you look at what the customer is asking for, the procurement of product, the various products that these partners have, is there one area in particular that you've really seen the Alliance truly outperform some of the other mechanisms out there for global procurement?
Yeah, I'd say that as everybody knows, the challenge of equipment procurement worldwide is big, right? And that's because we don't control the lead times from the OEMs directly. And so that's the sort of issue that everyone experiences. And I think that one of the biggest angles or benefits of collaborating with Alliance has been to precisely helping us navigate those lead times, right? Mm-hmm. Making sure that we can procure the devices that are required, and if not, being able to provide alternatives that can be delivered within a shorter time whenever those our customers need them. So I'd say that's the biggest advantage. I think a lot of the things that we are building internally, they're made to automate this, right? Mm-hmm. So at some point, what we want to do is we want to integrate all this data that currently lives in multiple separate islands, from the manufacturer to the distributor to the end user, so that everybody can have visibility and predictability on these lead times in real time, which I think is a sorely needed a solution. And so, furthermore, since we are providing data on demand, we would be at some point we will be able to make this forecast in real time and make sure that from the procurement side, we actually have the devices in stock to be able to serve those volumes.
Yeah, for sure. And I do know that, when I look at what I like to call the GITA mojo, the ability for, when you talk to lead times in particular, when the Alliance is comprised of the top partners around the world. So we also have first in queue for all of the major manufacturers. So as the supply chain gets better, we know that our partners within the Alliance are going to be the first ones to be able to provide the product, provide the solutions to the end users. So I'm glad you highlighted that because that's an important feature of the Alliance. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention my right hand and your right hand in this project, Linda Bombardieri of Agilent, who has truly been the coordinator of all the global procurement that you've been doing, that I've been doing. So I know that both of us appreciate her assistance immensely.
Absolutely. That has been extremely helpful. And I think in our end, right now, as I mentioned, we're on in this stage where a lot of processes are still done manually, but it's instrumental to outline what the processes need to be built before we actually build them. And working with Linda and the team has been instrumental to help guide us in that direction.
Great. So when you look at the next bastion of technology for GroWrk, improvements and other iterations of the product, is there one particular area that you want to highlight that is coming down the pike that's going to be really a game changer for you guys?
Yeah, I think that most organizations are gravitating towards managing their devices internally via MDM, right? And so one of the challenges that we have is that a lot of our customers prefer Apple devices, right? And they work with Apple Business Manager as an MDM solution. And one of the challenges that we have is in certain countries that's not available, right? Mm-hmm. And they might be hiring people in those countries because there's a big, deep engineering talent in those regions. And so that's the sort of thing that I think is one of the biggest pressing points that we need to focus on finding a solution for. So anything around enabling our customers to remotely manage everything around security for the devices that are being delivered to team members globally, it's kind of a big opportunity, a massive opportunity, as a matter of fact. And so that I think is something that we're working pretty closely with our partners to figure out the solutions.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's a big piece for a lot of companies to figure out, especially, when you look at, and you kind of talked about this, when you look at giving employees a choice, whether they want the Apple, the Lenovo, the Dell, the HP, et cetera, giving them that option and then be able to execute across the board, regardless of the option they choose, I think is a pretty significant niche for GroWrk. So that's very valuable, I'm sure, to the end user. So personal question here, I know that you're an alumni of New York University, as most great people are. What post-pandemic, Carlos, you've been around, you've done a couple of startups in your career. Post-pandemic, as a business person and a CEO and a leader, what are you most looking forward to when you're able to travel freely, be out there? What things have you missed that you're looking most forward to going forward?
No, absolutely. No, I haven't been to New York still. And speaking about NYU, we actually skipped our 10-year anniversary because of the pandemic. Yes, so that's. I look forward to getting back to the city pretty soon. From what I hear, everything is up and running already. So it's just me who's missing out. But I spent a few years over there. To your point, we've been, our career really has been all over the place, but spent quite a few years in the financial services industry. So, that was quite the experience before becoming an entrepreneur, right? And so we'll see. I think that one of the benefits of what we build here today is, and one of the benefits of why customers and employees rather prefer to work remotely is that you have more flexibility and more ownership of your time, right? Mm-hmm. That enables you to work from anywhere. Mm-hmm. And whether, you're working from, a place close to your office, or whether you want to move to another country to do that for some time, you can do it, right? There's no barrier holding you. I mean, just myself, I was working out of Mexico City last week, right? And so as an example. And so that is what we started to see, a transition to that flexibility of work. So it's not about working from home all the time or working in an office all the time. It's about flexibility. And I think that's really the movement.
Yeah, that is so right. I mean, I anecdotally, I know folks that are traveling in an RV, and provided they get a Wi-Fi signal, they could literally work from anywhere, and that's their new home office, and it's on the road, which is great. So you mentioned Mexico City. You're in San Diego. Where else does GroWrk have some of their people?
Yeah, we're all over the place. We're a fully distributed organization ourselves. We have to do what we preach, right? But we have team members here in San Diego, San Francisco, Miami, Mexico City, India, Spain. So yeah, all over the place.
That's great. That's
And
great.
growing.
Yeah, and growing, absolutely. Well, Carlos, I really appreciate you joining me today. It's been a pleasure, and we look forward to watching GroWrk grow and growing with the Alliance, which is perfect. And I really appreciate all that you've meant to us. So thank you for joining me today.
Thank you very much, Emery.
That was another episode of the GITA Interviews. I'm Emery Geosits, Executive Director of the Globalized IT Alliance, and please check us out at www.gita.com. Thank you. Thank you for listening to the GITA Interviews. To find out more about the Globalized IT Alliance, please visit www.gita.com or follow us for more great interviews.